Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are on Monday, December 18th. We're going to take a look at NIO today. So NIO doing a good job breaking through this downtrend resistance that we had on the chart here. And trying to push up higher, up over 5% at the moment. This was just a small up day, but 5% that day as well, 2% to get it sort of out of the box there. So, trying to reject these descending triangles, which obviously is a welcome sign for the NIO bulls out there, or the NIO hopefuls maybe. But 847, the nearest in resistance level that I see. We have the 781 as the nearest in support level at the moment. There's some more granular levels in here, like 803, okay, just above 8, that makes sense, right? But the psychological levels are in there, so I just try to pull in the levels that I felt were the strongest, but that means that I left off some that are certainly there, but just aren't seeming dominant to me at the moment. Now, if it is able to push through as 847, 892, so that approach toward 9 may get a little sticky. We'll see. And I did want to go, woo, alert, alert. There's a gap up here that it's formed not too long ago on this down 17% day. It would get into that gap at about 960. And it would fill that gap at about 1022. Now, it's not obvious to me that either of those are resistance levels themselves, but we have seen recently with a lot of these gaps that stocks are approaching that they do tend to treat them as support or resistance, depending on if they're coming down into them or coming up toward them. So if that ends up to be the case, like, don't be super shocked. But we'll see what happens if and when it gets there. It has quite a ways to go. Now, just as a reminder, even though it's left this downtrend resistance at the moment, there is this larger downtrend resistance. We zoom, this one's been holding on for quite a while. It's bumped its head against it a few times, which may not seem like a big deal, but they were such violent slams into it that I feel pretty confident, right? This was a big charge from all the way down here, and it rejected off of it and then tried to sort of stick around, rejected off of it again, and that was a big push down. And then here, again, had this huge bullish momentum, tried to punch up through it and rejected back down. So it's going to be a while before that comes into play. It depends sort of how much fiddling around it does. If it does continue to move up, it could sort of approach it maybe even just out of or in the gap. But we're just going to have to see how it takes shape. But pretty interesting with that gap there, and then sort of like a fly level here, if you say, like, where the price tends to sort of fly through that space, and we're kind of like approaching that at the moment. But this is a big, tough area because you have this big sort of price gap, not an actual gap, but a price gap between 781 and 847 being the strong levels as I see them at least, and it's just struggling to sustain buying pressure over that 847. Now, maybe that'll change in the coming days. We'll see. But if it does, that approach toward 9, like I said, might get a little bit sticky as well. Now, on the think or swim side of things, we're still in long trigger phase here. So this is what makes this additionally interesting. You get a long trigger here and then a brief fire that did nothing. So I tend to call these like hiccup candles. So we had this hiccup here. So if we just sort of take this stretch, it's this whole stretch of this stock just sort of magnetizing, right? It's all of this price action magnetizing itself to the mid-range of the channel, slightly above, slightly below. This is the furthest above that it's been in a long time while it's been triggering. And it's stretching up out of the channel at the moment, which is pretty interesting. And volume increasing. So, you have a little teeny tiny green wave cloud forming here. So it's sort of in its infancy, but it's there, or it has the potential to sort of be there if it continues to take shape. So I'm really, really interested in how that plays out when this finally fires, because it's such a lengthy trigger. and it's situated right at the top of the channel right now. So where does it go? Is it going to stretch out of the channel? Is it going to come back down and just trigger for longer and fight the mid-range again? Is it going to fire and sort of blitz down toward the lower bound of the channel? I don't know, but it's a pretty interesting setup on the TTM squeeze indicator at the moment, and everything relatively baseline. I mean, I know this looks a little bit strongish on the bearish histogram side of things, but I mean, it's nothing compared to this and this, right? These histogram levels, so I get spent quite a bit of time outside of the channel there to the upside, and then just incessantly pressed the lower bound of the channel and fell out here for a little while as well. So this whole area is relatively baseline as it's been in the channel and kind of mostly mid-range, and especially so while it's been triggering. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.